today Mr. Joseph Jude, who's a CTO of an organization and who's also a coach and a podcast host. So I'm sure you all are looking forward to today's webinar, which is first one in the series of Learning Bytes 3.0. And the topic for today's webinar is influencing when you do not have the power. So now, as I said, I welcome you all for today's webinar. I see a lot of people are still joining in, but meanwhile, let me give a quick introduction of our speaker for today, who's Joseph Jude. Mr. Joseph Jude is an entrepreneur and a coach. He's currently serving as a CTO of an IT services company. Previously, he worked with Government of India in rolling out e-governance system for Ministry of Corporate Affairs. In between, he also tried his hands on running a digital security startup. He finds pleasure in spreading his ideas with the power of storytelling. And you can find his latest ideas at jjude.com. I'm sure all of you are excited, as I am. So over to Joseph.
Thank you. Thanks, Deepthi, for that wonderful introduction. Thank you, Deepthi, Vikas, and Shreya for the mic check that we had earlier to ensure that everything goes on well. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you, everybody, for joining in the morning. I'm sure on a Saturday morning you have better things to do, but you found time to come over here, so I really appreciate it. So let me start with my experience of working with two managers, and then let me go down to how we can influence. So when I joined when I became a junior project manager, I worked with one of the senior managers. His name, I'm going to call him as Guru now. So he was a senior manager. He had a lot of ideas. He has ran Australian unit and so on and so forth. He had a very good experience. But he would use email as a discussion tool. He'll send out, okay, this is the plan, this is the budget, this is the team, and so on and so forth. All of those kinds of stuff, and it'll go back and forth, and that'll be email ping pong, as you can understand. He will send out something, there'll be something else coming in, and so on and so forth, okay? And it would take forever to come to a conclusion. He left, and there was another manager came in. It was a difference of night and day. This guy, I'm going to call him Mahendran. So this guy, Mahendran, he would go talk to the stakeholders, finalize everything. He will use email as a documentation tool. Just, hey, Deepthi, we agreed upon this. These are the problems that we are going to face. These are the risks that we are identifying. You are going to do this. I'm going to do this, and so on and so forth. And you can understand under whose leadership we achieved a lot more. Subsequently, after my stint in that particular unit, I joined Government of India as a consultant for about 6 years, and I worked with top IAS officers. Again, I saw this kind of a difference. While certain people would say, oh, this is system is apathetic, system doesn't care, it has a lot of constraints, you can't do this, you can't do that, and so on and so forth. And then there were a lot of other set of people, IAS officers, same, there was nothing else different, same set of people, they'll go and get things done. They, within that same framework, within the same system, constraint, IAS officers, bureaucracy, whatever that everybody had, they also had the same thing. They went and rolled out probably the India's first private public partnership e-governance program throughout the entire India. And they got PM's award. I was part of Vibratna award that I got out of Minister Kapil Sibal at that time. So I saw those two kinds of people, and I started wondering, to my own knowledge, right? I mean, to my own understanding, I wanted to find out what's the difference. There are people who go and get things done, even though sometimes they have power, sometimes they don't have power, sometimes they have the authority, sometimes they don't have authority. How do you do that? So that is when that influencing came in. What I'm going to call it as gravitas. Gravitas is much like a gravitational pull. It pulls people towards you. When I talked about Mahendran, you might have thought, oh, this guy is go-getter, he gets things done, so he should be tall, fair, speaking English very fluently. None of those things were true. He was a rugged village boy. Obviously, he grew up, but he was a rugged guy. So it is obviously there is a charm and so on and so forth, but Gravitas is much more like a personality plus a character. And I wanted to see how I can build it, how I can. And at that time, I also became a CTO. Then I have to let my team members go on sales calls or calls with customers and get things done. So how do I teach them to do that? So the more and more I learned, the more and more I explored this particular topic, I realized influencing or gravitas is a key component as you become the leader. So I found out there are 4 components which contributes to this gravitas. So the first one, I'm going to unpack the entire stuff, all the 4 components. The first component is wealth. The second component is insights, that the deep insights that you develop, that you have, that's insights. The third one is network. And the fourth one is self-control. And I will unpack all the 4 of them. Now, initially, when I started off, I would pursue them as independent ones, and I thought they're all independent activities or independent qualities and the attributes for a leader. What I realized is all the 4 of them, they work together. They are not independent things. They are, sum is greater than parts. So what it means is that, I'll give you an example. If you go to Starbucks, they will give you a decoction coffee separately, some milk, some sugar, and you will have to mix on your own. That's one way things work. If I know how to make such a kind of a coffee, I wouldn't go to Starbucks, right? But whereas if you go to a roadside shop, he will mix in whatever way that he thinks it is right, and he will give it to you. You may or may not like it, but that's a way to have coffee or tea or whatever that drink that you are picking up. So you need to mix this particular 3-4 categories of attributes for your own benefit. And some of us will be little further, some of us will be less. That's okay. But these are the 4 categories that you need to put in together. So let's talk about the first one, wealth. I want to ask you a question, and I would, we can make it a little more interactive. Otherwise, I see only myself and Deepthi. So hopefully, we can see some people's responses.
Yeah, sure.
Can you put in what wealth means to you? What is wealth for you? What does wealth mean to you? Can you put it on chat, please? What does wealth mean to you? Type in what wealth means to you. Okay, it's a knowledge. Yes, absolutely. It's a knowledge. Okay, Pooja and Kapoor Sarkar. Knowledge. Okay, anyone else? What is resources? Wisdom. Okay. Wow, not bad, not bad. Better than what I thought. That's why you are here on Learning Bytes 3.0. Yes. And I'm glad that this is the first session. Wonderful. Oh, Amit, thank you. Which is eternal, which you can use it whenever you need. That's absolutely fantastic. Okay. Now, for most of us, wealth means bigger paycheck. Wealth means having fancy cars. Wealth means living in a big house. That's why I didn't mean riches or money, I meant wealth. Wealth is not the money in the bank. As Sanjeev says, it's health, friends, and family. Vinit says it is way of life. Absolutely. That's what wealth is. Because I do know some of my colleagues, they earn double of what I'm earning, but they are tied to the phone from morning 6 o'clock to evening, maybe until 11, 11:30. They don't have time to sit and have lunch or dinner with their family. They have not seen their son or daughter going to school, coming back from school. They have not been there. What's the point of money if you are not able to have a way of life, as Vinit says, the way that you want? So that's wealth. You need to have a clear definition of wealth. Why is it important for influencing? You might ask, okay, fine. I mean, Joseph is starting to talk like a guru. Why wealth is important for influencing? See, for a lot of us, what happens is, and this has happened with me, and everything that I'm talking to you, it's all coming from experience. Okay. So you pick up a good paycheck, you start raising in your career, and then you go and like everybody else, we go and take up a home loan, a car loan, and your EMIs are rising and rising and rising. And you are like, oh my God, if something were to happen in office, I cannot pay my EMI. So you are constrained in your options. You're constrained in how you can express things. Oh my God, my manager wouldn't like, I don't want to speak. What if he gets angry? What if there's no promotion? What if they ask me to leave? And especially in this particular condition, and we are constrained by that. So even though we might have a lot of knowledge, wisdom, and all of those kinds of stuff, we are afraid because we don't have that kind of a bank balance, and money is very important for us. There are too much EMI to pay, and for us, wealth means only money. Then that constraining comes. We are limited. We are choked. And that influence, the gravitas, is not working because we are afraid. The confidence is not there. So that is why a good definition of wealth, good, healthy concept of wealth is important for you. I only work 3 days a week. The other 2 days, I spend time with my boys.
You're so lucky.
I am. Absolutely, Dipti. I cannot stop talking about luck. That's another topic. Maybe we'll have another topic. I cannot stop talking about luck. Okay? Yes, I only work 3 days a week. The other 2 days, I spend time with my boys, because when my boys were born, now, of course, they are 13 years old and they have grown. But when they were born, I realized we have, as parents, we have 12 summers with them. That's all, 12 summers with them. After that, they are gone. They fly away from home, right? So in the early part of their life, if parents, dad and mom, develop a good relation with them, good bonding with them, subsequent years when they go away or you go away, say for example at a later point in time you travel around or they go to a college, even if there is a gap meaning gap of a geography and so on and so forth, when you meet, that bonding is still there, because your early years there's a good bonding that you have developed. Now you flip that. When they were born, when they were growing up, when they were going to school, when they were going to high school, you were not around. You couldn't develop that particular bonding. When they needed, when they fell down, when they cried, when they had that first blood coming out of their legs, you were not there in their pain. And at a later point in time, when you are 50, you want to develop a bond with them. Guess what? They have gone. It's never going to happen, right? So I said, you know what? I'm going to spend time with my boys. So I took only 3 days a week, and I would spend time with them, reading stories, and so on and so forth. All of those kinds of stuff. Now, yes, over the years, that has helped me a lot. And now that they have grown up, now I do things like this, where I'm able to share my knowledge and everything. So the point is, do you have a healthy concept of wealth? What wealth means to you, and are you chasing that definition of wealth, not what the society says, right? That's the first one, wealth. Second one, I want to talk to you about insight. I told you it is insight. Now, in my own lifetime, and some of you who are older, Deepthi seems to be a lot more younger, but people who are a little older, when I was in college, I had to write letters. That's all was the communication mode that was available. We didn't even have telephones. Land telephones also we didn't have. When I came to my final year, somebody near my home had a telephone, so I would go and say, hey, you know what, auntie, I'm going to call. So can you ask my mom to come? Or I would have already told mom, Friday evening, 8 o'clock, I will call. So go there to the auntie's house. That's how we were. Today, you can call from anywhere to anywhere. No problem at all. We have seen Uber coming up, smartphones coming up, cryptocurrencies coming up, Nokia rise up and fall down. We have seen all of that in our own lifetime. I'm not even talking about 100 years. Life, the technology constrains space. It shrinks space. You can talk to anybody. You can access knowledge from anywhere. And now there is generative AI. It is going to even more, it's going to disrupt whatever we are doing. In that particular environment, if you have to thrive, the only way you can thrive is by having insights. Why should somebody come and talk to Pooja? Why should somebody come and talk to Vinit and Shreya or Deepthi instead of Googling, instead of going to generative AI? Because they have a different insight. That is when they are going to approach and say, hey, you know what? Shreya is the one who can get this thing done. So we will go to Shreya. So how do you develop that insight? Again, in my experience, in my research, what I found is there are 4 categories that you need to develop your reading habits. You need to learn from 4 different categories. The first one is history. If you want to develop a really good insights, first thing that you need to do is you need to read history. Now, you might say, Joseph, history is all numbers, dates, 1947, First World War, when it was started, when did Napoleon got defeated? No, that is not history. That's what we were made to believe. That's what we by-hearted, but that is not what history is. History is the lessons that has happened in different eras and how it is relevant to us. And I'm going to give you an example. If you read, you all know American army came to Afghanistan, they were there, and then they left hurriedly, and so on and so forth. There was one American general who assessed why that failure happened. Apparently, something very similar happened in Iraq and a few other places as well. So he went and analyzed. An American general who was deployed in Afghanistan. And if you connect with me on LinkedIn, and if you're interested, I can share that particular link with you as well. He goes on and analyzes, and if you know a little bit of a history of how this Afghan war happened, you will know this already. What happened was the American army came in, they did whatever that they have to do. Then when they wanted to leave, they wanted to train the Afghan police. What they did, they gave the equipments, the guns, and whatever other ammunition to the police, the Afghan police. And then they said, now you are done. Go and police Afghanistan. internally, there was no transformation for this Afghan police. They didn't have those kind of a training of being confident and so on and so forth. So what happened? When the Taliban came in, even though these guys had more arms and ammunitions, they threw everything and ran away. That's a history. Now, I'll tell you how this is relevant to us. In many of the organizations, what they do, we have to roll out project management. We will roll out Jira. You are all project managers. Right? That's what happens. This is why I'm saying, like, you need to learn from history. And this topic is, again, I can go on talking for hours on this. But the point here is you can learn from history. And we like somebody said, history rhymes. So we seem to make the same mistake all over again. That's history. Second, you have to learn from literature. Almost today it is not popular, especially in the days where we can scroll, we can like, we can see Instagram things and everything. We don't have time to read literature. I'm going to give you again one example alone from the literature. Again, I can talk in detail. Literature could be Mahabharata, Ramayana, Bible, some movies, good movies, Shakespeare. India has rich literature. I hope all of us read those kinds of literature. And I'm going to give you one example from Mahabharata. The day before the war starts, both Duryodhana and Arjuna, they go to visit Krishna. And Duryodhana sits on the head of Krishna and Arjuna sits at the feet. And Krishna opens his eyes and, what do you want? And Arjuna says, I want you. Duryodhana is happy. Oh my God, the whole army is mine now. So he asked for the army and Krishna says, okay, fine, you have it. So the whole army goes to one side. The strategist, the power goes to the other side. One guy, one person goes to one side. There is hundreds and hundreds of army goes to the other side. And you know what happened, what the end result is, right? Today, if you see, a lot of organizations think, a lot of executives think, oh, you know what? We don't need experienced candidates. We can throw them out. That's what happened. We can throw them out and we can hire hundreds and hundreds of freshers. That's exactly what's happening today. That's literature playing out in front of our eyes. I read one thing on LinkedIn. 23 years, this guy was with Microsoft. 23 years. He was thrown out. He was asked to leave. 23 years. I cannot believe that happened. So that's what is happening. Again, as I said, you can learn from literature. And I can go on talk from a lot from other parts of literatures as well. I hope I've given you one. I hope you go and search for other literatures across India, not just, in your area, but across India. India has rich literature. The third one, if you want to develop insight, is biology. Learn from biology. We are all biological beings. Learn from biology. I'll give you another example, okay? Some of you might be pet parents, cats or dogs or whatever. Some of you might be pet parents. So say, for example, you want to become a friend with a cat. What do? You cannot lift the cat with the ear, swirl around and throw it and think that it'll become friend to you, right? But that's exactly what we are doing with our team members. We mistreat them, we fight with them, we disrespect them, we do all of that, and we expect they will respect us. They will do the work that we are asking them to do. That does not happen. It's the same thing. So how you are treating that other biological things, right? Whatever the other biological, again, biology has a lot of insights that you can get, but that's what biology teaches you, right? So that's the third one that you can learn from is biology. And finally, inorganic things, which is physics and maths. If you see physics and math, there are, like, especially math, there are two broad domains. One is calculus, one is probability. Everything else kind of, you can bring them under those two categories. Calculus is precise. If you want to launch a rocket, you go for calculus. Precise, exact, millisecond, microsecond precision. That is calculus. The other thing is probability. You know what probability is. I mean, everything is almost like a probability. I thought probably we will start at 11 o'clock. Deepthi was very strict. She started exactly at 11 o'clock. I'm glad for it. In India, it does not happen. But she did not confuse the probability and the calculus. I'm glad. But many a times we mix that probability and calculus. I'll ask you an example. I'll ask you a question. How much are you spending for your groceries month on month? I don't think anybody can give a precise answer. It cannot be like 10,242 rupees and 50 paisa. You cannot say that because every month it changes. What you can say, approximately 10,000 rupees, which is probable. Approximately 10,000 rupees is what we are spending. That's more than good enough. You don't have to. The problem is with like, I mean, because I'm addressing the project managers especially, the problem with project managers thinking is that we confuse that. We look at Excel sheet and we are replacing probability with calculus. And we are saying exactly at Saturday, 2 o'clock, we will release. It never happens. Unless, of course, the project manager is Deepthi. I don't think it will happen. Now, like we look at something and we say, oh, it looks good in Excel. So in real world also, it will look good. That never happens, right? So do not mix that calculus and probability. When I'm calling you on your phone, I want calculus to kick in. I don't want the next number to be called. I want the exact number to be called, right? So that's a calculus. But whereas most other things in life are probability, which is where the luck comes in as well. You can work out luck because it's probability. You have to learn about probability. Now, when you mix all the four that I talked about, right? History, literature, organic, and inorganic things, when you mix all of them four together, your insight will be a lot more, and people would want to listen to you. People would want to hear from you, and your own way you are handling your team members, the way you are handling your seniors, the way you are handling the customers is going to only reach because you're learning from all of them. You're borrowing from, you are having a multidisciplinary thinking, not a unidimensional thinking. You know that when I'm doing a project planning, I need to follow this particular approach. But when I'm talking to a customer, I need to follow a different approach, right? So on and so forth. When you are talking to a person, they are not science. The other person is not science. It is not going to behave in electron and neutron manner. They have feelings, they have emotions, they are going to behave in a probable manner. But when you are dealing with something else, machines, you cannot say it's probable. It will behave in a certain way. Your computer program that you're developing, you cannot say, oh, it might probably work. I don't know, right? So that is where you are going to apply the different thinking, multidisciplinary thinking, and then that is how you are going to become rich. I'm going to pause for a while. Do you have any questions? Do you want to ask anything at all?
Yeah, in case you have any questions, you can type in the chat window and then we can take up those questions. And so far, Joseph, I'm sure everyone will agree to me. We're having a great session so far. And I'm sure everyone will use these insights in the way they're growing up, and then will be using these insights in the ways of their working also.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Any question, guys, you can type in the chat window. I see Vinod has been typing in the cues in the chat window for everyone's help. So thank you, Vinod.
Very true. Thanks, Vinod. Yeah, it's nice. Okay, so we talked about wealth. We talked about insights. And if you have any questions, like, I mean, you can put in. The third one is network. What's your network? When I started in college, started in work after college, my initial network was all homogeneous. Same age group, from same geography. I'm from Tamil Nadu, so like, I mean, all Tamils of, 24 years, 23 years old, software industry. That's all. Everybody was same. Everybody thought the same. When we went for coffee, there are only two questions we would discuss. Which company is sending people to on-site? Who is paying more? That's all we discussed. Nothing else. No technology trend, no learning, none. We didn't have provisions like this. So none of those things we discussed. We only discussed two questions. So which meant our thought process were all uniform. We all thought the same thing. Later, as I grew up and I went and worked for Government of India, and now that I'm a CTO, my network has IAS officers, entrepreneurs, advocates, everyone, women, men, age group of different categories. So I'm able to learn from everybody. Everybody is having a different life experience and a corporate experience. Some of them are working, some of them are entrepreneurs, some of them are indie makers, individual product creators, and so on and so forth. So I'm able to learn from everybody. So what I would encourage you is also try to build a very vast, heterogeneous network. That is when you are going to learn. Now, you might say, you know what, Joseph, you are a coach, you are a CTO, probably you need to do networking. I don't need to do networking. I have enough of work at my home and at my office. That's more than good enough. You might think that. I used to think that as well. And second, sometimes what we think is that networking means we'll go to a networking session, give cards, and get cards. That's all is networking. Or we'll go to again a networking session, we'll take a drink, and we'll stand as a group with our own friends and we will chat. That's all is networking. Even when you are an employee, networking is important. The point of network, your network has to answer this one question. Only one question. Who is speaking for you? Who is speaking for you? I didn't know Shreya. I didn't know the PMI North India chapter. Somebody spoke for me. When Shreya asked around, somebody said, you know what? Joseph can talk on this particular topic. Who is speaking for you? Now, it is not only outside. Think about your own office. There are going to be new opportunities. You're all project managers. So at a VP or at a higher level, somebody is going to say, there's a new project which has come in. Whom should we assign this to? Is there somebody there who is saying, Shreya will handle this? Vinod will handle that. Amit is the person who can handle this. He has the exact same skill set that is needed. So do you have somebody who can speak for you? That's network. If you have that, that means you have a rich network. Who is speaking for you? So there is going to be a promotion cycle. Now soon it is going to come in. They're all going to talk about it. And one good or a bad habit that we have in our corporate thing is it's always a curve, right? They will flatten the particular curve in one fashion or the other. Even though your manager says he has done really good job, the HR is going to flatten it. But is there somebody who will go and speak for you? No. Gaurav has done this job. He has to be promoted. Is there somebody who is going to fight for you? That is when you have a good network. So I told you I worked in Government of India. I'm now a CTO. Overall, I have about 7 different jobs that I have done. 7. And probably for some it is very small. I have about 25 years of experience. In 25 years, 7 is much, much small, because nowadays in 7 years, they do 14 jobs. I interview certain people and they have 10 years of work experience and they have already changed 12 different jobs. But anyway, I've done about 7 jobs, except one. Everything came via contacts. So somebody, like what somebody said to Shreya, somebody told the government of India, whoever was looking for this particular project, Joseph is the right candidate. He has to come in. So I wasn't there in the situation. Somebody spoke for me. It's the same thing. The CTO, like the CEO, who is with whom I'm working now, he was looking for somebody to solve a problem. Somebody told him Joseph is the right guy. So I could go there because I went there as a reference. I could go there. I didn't go on my own, right? So I go there and I said, I can only work 3 days a week. Because somebody spoke for me highly, the CEO said, okay, it's fine. That's the power of networking. So you need to build your network. Okay. So you can do that. Like, I mean, everything that I talked about, right? Like, I mean, all of you are going to be on LinkedIn. You can speak on LinkedIn. You can write on LinkedIn almost on a daily basis. That is how you will improve. You can borrow from all of these 4 domains that I talked about: biology, inorganic things, and history and literature. You can bring all of that. You can probably, like, I mean, put in, these are the lessons that we learned today. These are the insights that I'm taking in, and push all of them into LinkedIn. You can build your network. And then you can make connections. And I'm sure all of you would appreciate today, in today's digital world, all of the referrals are all happening via these kinds of network, especially LinkedIn. So build a rich network. That's how you build gravitas and influence. As I said, like, I mean, I was not looking for a speaking opportunity, but somebody told Shreya, Joseph is the guy to speak. And I'm very honored, like, Learning Bytes 3.0 is the first session. You guys have chosen me. So I'm very honored about it. But I did not choose that. I did not go looking for. The opportunity came for me. Right? So the point here is you need to develop people who will speak for you. That's network. Okay. And as we are speaking, if I don't share my LinkedIn profile, what am I doing for networking, right? So please connect with me if we have not already connected. And yeah, as I said, like, I mean, share whatever that you learned from today. And I would be keen to read, keen to connect with you to do that as well. So you might ask, okay, how do I develop my network? Today, you can build your network internally. There are people like, I mean, I saw that Vikas, Shreya, Dipti, they're all taking efforts to do this. You can do this internally also in your office. So that's how I built my network when I was, again, junior managers and everything. Now I'm a CTO, I can say whatever I want, people will come. But when I was young, nobody would give me any listening at all. So what I would do, I would start Wednesday wisdom session. And I will say, okay, a few people, we will all join together. We will talk about a technology trend. We will talk about a lesson we learned in escalation, handling less escalations, and so on and so forth. And slowly that group grew. And I wasn't speaking on every session, but everybody knew that I was the one who was organizing it. So again, you're building that network. There are other options. LinkedIn. Many a times I will see somebody who is posting good things. So I'll say, hey, would you mind getting on a call? And almost all the time they will say yes, and then I will learn from them what their perspective is, what their work experience is, and so on and so forth. Same thing happens with Coffee Mug. There's a portal. I don't know how many of you know. There's another thing called Lunch Club. You can register, even if you take one meeting every month, not more, one a month. That's more than good enough. You will develop a rich network, and when they have certain kind of an opening, they are going to speak for you, right? So the purpose of networking is, again, the top question that needs to be answered is, who is speaking for you? Who will fight for you? Who will stand up for you? If you have somebody, that is, you have built your network really well. So that's network. So we talked about 3 things: wealth, insights, network. The 3 things are a flywheel. One leads to the other. When you have a lot of wealth, you can get access to a lot of insights. We are all sitting in our office, in our home. We have a high bandwidth, which means you have wealth. And you are able to access this kind of an insight. Today is one, and I'm sure you are going to have subsequent, successive, these kinds of insights. Because of wealth, there are a lot of people who don't have this kind of an access. And you can't get into this kind of a group. You have to pass that PMI certification. Only then you are part of. So again, you're done certain kind of wealth to be in this particular group, in this particular cohort. And that is why you are able to access this kind of an insight. So wealth leads to insight. Insight leads to network. What happens with the network? This particular network, right? I mean, PMI North India Chapter, you are part of this particular network. That leads to more insights. That leads to more wealth. And so on and so forth. It is a flywheel. It keeps spinning and spinning and spinning. You need to keep it spinning. So you should find opportunities for speaking. You should find opportunities for sharing your knowledge. That is how you build your network. So this is a flywheel. It keeps spinning, right? Now, mostly these three characteristics, these three parameters that I talked about, most of the people will kind of, learn, understand. If you go to a MBA program, any leadership program, they will talk about this in one fashion or the other. Personal finance, it could be all termed differently. Personal finance, learning, whatever, like, I mean, how to network, one way or the other, it will all be taught. What we do not discuss at all is self-control. None of the leadership programs talk about self-control. Self-control is the axle upon which the flywheel of the first three components rotate. Ramalingam Raju, Satyam, he had everything. Wealth he had, insights he had network, everything he had. Why did he fail? And I can go on talking a lot of names. Rajat Gupta, Chanda Kochar. I mean, I can go on talking a lot of names. They had all of those things. They lacked self-control. So when you don't have that self-control, which is what our literatures also talk about, right? So when you don't have self-control, it doesn't matter you have all the three. It might look like you are climbing up, but you are climbing up a slippery slope. Because you lack self-control, at any given point in time, you get slip down. So you need to develop that self-control. Now, for each of us, it might be very different, right? So that self-control is not, one thing that everybody will have to fall into this. That is not self-control. Eating a particular food or dressing something like this, that is not self-control. Self-control is primarily doing what you are supposed to do at that particular moment. That's self-control. And avoiding doing something that you will regret 10 years from now. That is self-control. When you start your career, there is always a temptation to cook up your CV. Add something which you didn't do, put in some names, put in some awards which you didn't actually have, so that you can say, oh, you know what, that award, I mean, that company is no more, and so on and so forth. That is when it is tested. And again, the literature is where you will learn the self-control in a really good manner. They don't talk about it as, honesty is the best policy. They don't put in, I mean, none of the literatures will say that, honesty is the best policy. No, they will not say it. They will narrate. They will put in a situation. They'll put the character in that particular situation. The situation has to decide. That character has to decide. Should I do this? Should I do that? That's what self-control is. That is what ethics is. One example is Karna. Karna, he is son of, brothers of all of these folks, but he has to decide whether I'm going to stand with the friend who stood with me when I was nothing, or I'm going to abandon him. That's the decision you are going to make. In your office, that's the decision you are going to make. In your life, that's the decision you are going to make. That's what Karna has to make. We can all say one or the other. Karna should have joined the Pandavas. Karna should not have joined. We can debate all of that. But the point here is, that's the situation you're going to be in. And you can learn from that. That is self-control. So the more you read all of these literatures. Unfortunately, nowadays it's all only soft porns which are coming in the form of stories and books and novels. So you need to go back to the olden times to read any of these books. But that's when you learn what is self-control. What happens if I don't stick up to the principles? Your principle will be different from my principle. That's absolutely okay. But is there an integrity? You say, I'm going to be this, and do you stand by that? Is all that matters. Again, as I said, your principle might be different and probably will be different. That's okay. But do you have a principle, and are you standing by it? And how can you have this kind of a self-control? I'm sure most of you would know this particular book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. In that, he gives an exercise: write your obituary. Imagine you are on the last day, and then people are all speaking about you, your family, your colleagues, and so on and so forth. What would you want them to say? It's such a powerful exercise. I have done it, and I don't mind giving you at all that particular exercise I have done. If you do that, that will drive everything, every decision, everything that you want to do. It will help you. What you want your kids to say, what you want your spouse to say, what you want your colleagues to say. When you do that, that will kind of become your North Star, whatever that they call us, right? The North Star, the pillar, whatever that they call us, that's what it's going to be. And that will drive all the other decisions, which is what your self-control is. So when you have these 4 things, that's when you influence. That's when you become a power of influence. Not your role, not your chair, not your title. No, none of those things. When you exhibit this character, that is when you become a person of influence. That is when people are going to look up and say, okay, you know what? If I have something, I want to go and talk to Amit. I want to go and talk to Gaurav, because he is going to tell me the right thing. He's going to tell me what I should do, and so on and so forth. Right? So 4 things: wealth, insights, network, and self-control. 4 things when you combine them together, that is when you become a person of influence. And when you do that, everything else falls in place. Thank you so much for your time. I hope I've been able to impart some insights to you. And please connect with me on my LinkedIn, and you can subscribe to my newsletter also. I send out one email every Wednesday. Call it as Wednesday Wisdom, if you will. And if you want, you can subscribe to it. And thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you, Shreya, Vikas, and Deepthi, for doing all the coordination. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, let me know.
Yes. Thank you so much, Joseph. That was a very, very powerful session, I must say. And what a great start to our Learning Bytes 3.0. And I'm glad that we chose you as a speaker. And I'm sure that everyone is taking away these 4 things that you talked about, and which is wealth, insight, network, and self-control. And then in a way, they will start using these and see how they can influence, when even if they don't have power, they'll use these 4 things to start influencing others. So thank you so much for that. And guys, if you have any questions, please type in the chat window. We are here to answer questions. Joseph is there with a beautiful smile on his face. Everyone's appreciating Joseph.
I can see. Thank you so much, Deepthi. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
When you are a speaker, that is what it matters, right?
It does. And we at PMI North India Chapter are very, very thankful for this powerful session.
Thank you, Pooja. Thank you, Sanjay, everybody.
I agree. Saturday morning spent well. So far, I'm not seeing any questions. I'm sure you've already answered all of them, because the session itself was so powerful that all our questions, all our queries got answered by the session itself.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, let me quickly share what is upcoming, what is going to be the next session, which is the second session of Learning Bytes 3.0.
Dipti, can I leave?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Joseph.
Thank you.
It was a wonderful session.
Thank you.
And guys, as I was saying that Joseph also mentioned you can connect with him on LinkedIn, and we have his website page, jeju.com. You can know more about him. And then I must say that it was a great learning experience, learning from Joseph. And I am hopeful that we'll get to know, I would say that we'll learn more from you in, I might, maybe in future sessions. Maybe, that's a possibility, Joseph, I'll say.
True.
Okay.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.
Now about the next session, upcoming webinar, that is going to be by Nilima Chakra, and it is I Am Remarkable. And it's a global, Google's global initiative to empower everyone, especially women and underrepresented groups, to speak openly about their accomplishments, change societal perceptions, and self-promotion. And it's going to be an exciting 90-minute workshop with interactive exercises and discussions you can take away, follow-up exercises to practice, and perfect self-promotion. I'm sure it is going to be an amazing follow-up session after this powerful session by Joseph. And as far as PDUs for this particular sessions are concerned, you can take the screenshot here. You can log into PMI.org website and go to PMI CCRS dashboard, click on report PDUs, click course or training, and then in course provider, choose PMI North India Chapter. Course name is Learning Byte 3.0, Influencing When You Don't Have Power. PDU claim ID is C118KY1H63. Date start and end date will be today's, which is 20th February 2023. And in case you have any questions, any queries, you can reach out to Vikas Madan, myself, Deepti Sejpal Gori, or Shreya Arora. And you'll get one PDU from this session under ways of working. I hope everyone is happy and is excited about the next session as well. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. And we look forward to seeing you to the next session. And for the next session, yes, you will be receiving an email with the details about the next session and the joining link and the dates as well. When is it going to be? And any questions, any queries, you can reach out to me, Deepti Sejpal Gori, Shreya Arora, or Vikas Madan. And we all at PMI North India Chapter, thank you all for being here on a Saturday morning and attending this first session of Learning Byte 3.0. Thank you, everyone.